Motion controls and cameras. When Nintendo started incorporating this into consoles, it was very well received. The Nintendo Wii is an incredibly high-selling console, despite its technical limitations because of its innovative ideas. But then came the Microsoft Kinect. Yeah. Despite the fact that Microsoft dumped tons of money into trying to advertise this thing, it just couldn't catch a break. Why? Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx we ask the question, what killed the Kinect? Way back in 2009, a new project was announced at E3, Project Natal. This was clearly not the actual name of the product. The demos were kinda cool, but we were all sort of like, isn't this kinda you wanting to be the Nintendo Wii? I mean, that generation, the Nintendo Wii was criminally underpowered, but it basically stepped on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, selling over 20 million units more than both of them. So I get a little Wii envy. I see it. I'll take it. Acceptable motive. Then they changed the name of it to Kinect and it almost sounded like a real thing. Microsoft wasn't playing around either. According to the New York Post, they spent literally $500 million to advertise the launch of the Kinect. They advertised on Oprah by giving away the Xbox 360 bundled with the Kinect. They did the same thing on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. They made sure everybody in the world was aware of this thing, so it was not an awareness thing that made it fail. But it failed. But I will say it at least had a killer app. And it was called, actually, was there, no there wasn't. There was not a killer app. There wasn't even like an aggressive app. No killing was going on. Something that sold a lot of Wiis was the fact that it wasn't just a Legend of Zelda and Mario thing. They also had Wii Sports. They had nothing that could compete with Wii Sports, and Wii Sports is not that big of a deal looking back on it. Like, it was a lot of fun, and it was competent, and I think that that's kind of the main reason why it was successful, was you could play it and it didn't screw up, unless you kind of tried to make it screw up. What they launched with Kinect was Kinect Adventures, which was 5 minigames, basically like demos. Stuff that you couldn't repeatedly play because it literally basically just showed off the capabilities of it, and they weren't even that fun the first time around. Because they bundled it with the Kinect and they bundled the Kinect with the Xbox 360, it sold 24 million copies of the game, so it was the best-selling game on the Xbox 360 that year. But hey, you ever wanted proof that sales don't equal quality? Kinect Adventures! So not only did the novelty not really last very long, but the machine didn't work as good as the Wii. It was literally just a camera. You weren't holding any kind of a sensor. It was a 3D camera that was sensing your movements that way, which works pretty alright for slow moving stuff, but once you start getting going like a sport, it could lose you pretty easy, and it did. It got a pretty negative reaction as an actual game controller, but there is one thing that's worth noting here. The voice commands for your menu on your Xbox, that was pretty solid. It also added another $100 to your console price. So I don't know that it was worth it for voice commands, but the voice commands and the hand signal stuff, it was cool and it worked decently. Now the fact that there was no killer app really hurt it when you compared it to the Nintendo Wii, because the motion controls that Nintendo Wii made, they always justified with a piece of software that used it correctly. You had Wii Sports, which utilized the Wii controller as like a tennis racket, as a running device. You could use it as a steering wheel for Mario Kart, which was already 2 years old by the time Kinect came out, which was not only more functional but more fun and really made the Kinect look bad. But like, even nowadays when you look at new motion control oriented games coming out on Nintendo consoles, like let's say ARMS, you immediately get why there's motion controls. They're good. I mean, other than Star Fox Zero, that was the ultimate bad idea. But hey, you're allowed one. All things considered, Nintendo has done amazingly with motion controls, and you'll find that I am one of the most cynical people regarding motion controls possible. And even though their games worked, in 2010 I had motion control fatigue, and I know I wasn't the only one. I was just sick of it. I was like, why aren't we getting more games from Nintendo that play more like old Nintendo games? Looking back, it was a little bit of a cynical attitude on my part, but seeing Microsoft coming out with a less good working version of that wasn't that appealing to me, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one feeling that. Now let's talk for a minute about exactly why it doesn't work. Now the Kinect was 2 cameras, so it got depth data. It took the 2 images, contrasted them really hard, and tried to discern figures and assign skeletons to them. Now why was the Kinect so bad at it back then, when now all we need is a single camera on a phone and Snapchat can easily wire something over your face? Well, to put it simply, because it was almost a decade ago. So in that respect, I kind of give them a pass. I get why it wasn't perfect technology, but it was sold like it was. They spent a lot of money saying this was some brand new tech that was going to blow everyone's minds, and it didn't, because it didn't have a good game, and it didn't work. I mean, it did work for like Just Dance, but you could literally do that with like a webcam. In fact, people have made games like that on the computer using a webcam. And in truth, Just Dance didn't really need the depth capabilities of the Kinect, and that was kind of why it cost $100 extra. Now, the Kinect for Xbox 360 failed hard, so they thought, you know what, let's revamp the whole thing and make it mandatory for Xbox One, which I think was just a brilliant idea. Make your console cost an extra $100 and don't let people go, hey, I don't want that, because nobody wanted that. There was nothing on the Kinect that made it worth having, so why would Kinect for Xbox One be any different? So why exactly did it fail? Well, ultimately because it wasn't fun. It was novel for a short period of time, if you had never ever used a Wii or a webcam before, and I'm sure there was a fair share of people who hadn't, but there just wasn't any reason to buy it. And when you have a product that has no real reason to buy it, no killer app, no system seller, and you advertise the ever-loving bejesus out of it, it really exaggerates the idea that there's nothing there. Couple that with the fact that word of mouth from people who had it was bad, and I mean bad. And then they tried to force it on people with the Xbox One, because they tried to force a lot of stuff on people with the Xbox One. Oh, it was just like every kind of bad decision you could make at once. If the Kinect had been a success, that would have been bewildering. Back in October of 2017, they finally stopped manufacturing the Microsoft Kinect. That's not to say the internal technology is gone forever. The hardware that they eventually developed, to be fair, for Kinect 2.0 worked a lot better. The piece of hardware they're developing called the HoloLens, which, let's be completely honest, is cool as hell, uses some of the technology from Kinect. Both that and the Windows Hello cameras also use Kinect's ability to recognize people's faces, so it's not as if that money was all spent in vain. Though one has to imagine that $500 million on advertising in 2010 probably feels really stupid now. There's other ways the Kinect lives on as well. The iPhone X is not that far off from a miniature Kinect that works. Apple actually bought PrimeSense, the company that made the original Kinect, and they implemented that tech into the new iPhone. So I guess happy ending, kind of? Just don't forget Kinect Adventures. No one in the game industry, if you're watching this, don't do anything like that again. If you're gonna do motion controls, make the game damn good. Are there any motion control games that you particularly liked or hated? Leave us a comment, we're interested. And if you enjoyed this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now would be a great time to do just that. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.